All right, it's time. I am Dave the IT guy. This is Bring Your Own Security Radio. I am broadcasting live via Twitter, and it's going to be a little shaky because I'm holding it in my hands while talking on a microphone and running my production for the podcast and subsequent airing on the iHeartRadio app and AM/FM radio on a nationwide scale. So please bear with me if you're watching on Twitter. I apologize for how shaky this might get to be. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for taking the time. If you are here in the U.S. and even probably on a global scale, you're probably locked down anyway and looking for something to do. I hope that you enjoy what I have to say tonight. I hope you find something new. And this is meant to be interactive, although I won't be able to chat live at this point. My next episode next week, I will put together a more congruent platform so that maybe we can interact in real time. But for now, for next episode, please feel free to comment on what you heard tonight. Any ideas that you have, anything that is new that you know that I don't know. And if you think that I've said something wrong, by all means, feel free to reach out because I am happy to be educated and or discuss opinions. So nothing is wrong and everything is cool. So tonight, although I've already mentioned the whole COVID thing, what is probably already well known within the IT security world is the issue of the Zoom video conferencing meeting software being a target of hackers. We knew this was coming, right? Any platform that was going to be widely used, whether it be GoToMeeting, WebEx, Zoom. Zoom is the newest platform that's being targeted. Just tons of malware is coming out, and even apps for your phones is coming out to have something to do with trying to download and steal data from your phone and or steal data from your computers, or much worse, ransomware you or do whatever it is that they can do to you. So if you do use any of these applications over the next, gosh, who knows how long it's going to be, but at least a month here in the U.S., be cautious. Make sure that, as always, you are paying attention to the source of where you download something from. Pay attention to any alerts. Make sure that you've got good anti-malware, anti-spyware, anti-virus, whatever it is, good defensive posture on your laptop. It also brings me into a discussion about at home versus on the job and what we can do about, what we can do about security, right? A lot of us have VPNs. Some of us have different software like Zscaler and others. A lot of us have SD-WAN. A lot of us have just straight up old school VPN technology. But what a good chunk of us don't have is at home having good, reliable internet. There's definitely a difference between your connectivity at work and a business level connectivity versus consumer level connectivity at the home. Some people may not spend a lot of money and don't have high compression rate or high download or upload speed. People think, well, I've got 200 megs download, but they don't think about what their upload is, right? So when they're doing their voice and their video calling, all of their outbound audio and video streams are not as great. So there is something to it. Plus these ISPs are getting crushed with all these at-home based users. Plus, not just the business. Now you've got kids at home 24/7. They're quarantined in, they're in no school, they're not really getting out much. Maybe they're playing outside a little bit, but by and large, they are streaming, the cord cutters are streaming their apps for their TV stations, YouTube video games, in-home Wi-Fi things that are still going on. So these ISPs are getting hit. It's something to consider. Maybe taking a look at different services at your business. And if you have never looked at that stuff before, I certainly bet you're looking at it now. When it comes to compression ratios and how fast does your speed have to be in order to use a specific service or tool. I bet all of that's coming into play now for your IT departments. So if you're not in the security sector specifically, but you're in the IT sector, it's something to consider whether or not you're looking at just your average day-to-day IT posture, and now you're having to look at your IT posture with the work-at-home twist, with users who might be at home that don't have good security on their home-based networks. You're allowing them access to VPN. You're allowing them to save data locally, even if it's on a work computer or a personal computer in their home, while on your VPN, and transferring potential viruses across the wire. Lots and lots of options here, and lots of things to now consider. So if you haven't, I bet over the last month you have, I would be interested in hearing some scenarios where people have found issues and or were able to predict something happening and was able to mitigate it before it happened or react quickly. I have seen some stories already, and I've heard firsthand a couple of fellow IT people that I'm aware of around my area that have run into some oddball issues, mainly being users who are, split tunnel. I did hear of one where somebody had was connected to their company VPN. They were on split tunnel and on their personal computer at home, but during work was taking a break and watching a porn video, and somehow or another, while on VPN, he was still able to watch said porn video, and content filtering did not stop it. Yet other things in the business environment alerted to this user using that website. So it caused kind of an HR question about if he's on his home computer using his home internet service and he was taking a lunch break, theoretically, so he's not on the work clock. Is there anything they could do about it? I would think. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know what's happened to that situation yet. I have reached back out to ask. I'm certainly interested in hearing what has happened to that effect. So, anyway, on to other stuff. If you didn't know, Marriott got breached again. They had a data breach and before, and it looks like they got hit again for millions of records all over again. So if you are a Marriott Rewards customer or a frequent Marriott stayer, although at this point over the last few weeks, probably nobody's frequent at traveling through Marriott stuff, but moving forward, hopefully they now have time to get their properties figured out and their online security figured out as well. It looks like yet another data lake or data container was compromised again by somebody misconfiguring. This is starting to be a broken record. We're hearing, somebody left an AWS misconfigured, or some sort of container was open, or some other database was ill configured, and it's getting to the point where we're all seeing it's human error over and over. It's not, that the hackers were great at technology, the hackers were able to zero-day somebody or do some other magical interaction, but the reality is that these people that we're entrusting with our data are just not paying attention, and they're not being diligent, and nobody's holding them accountable. And I think it's about time that we start maybe taking a look at accountability for what it's worth. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Other things that I'd like to talk about a little bit is, the realities of some DDoS events happening, whether they be issues of companies that we know, issues of companies that we don't know. We start having companies like Zoom, for instance. They are well known, right? And they're becoming very well known in the hacker world. Obviously, they're being attacked. And we are looking also at possible DDoS attacks against these companies. Now, what better way to hurt a company than to go after some of these video conferencing / meeting environments that are being so widely used in such an emergent sort of way. It's a lot of companies just didn't think this far ahead. They didn't think a day like this was coming from an IT perspective. So they did not really plan. They didn't have the money put aside to do these things. And then they had to scramble and put things together so that their business didn't completely tank, much like many businesses are right now, especially in the public sector where there are retailers and restaurants, the obvious. So, but for businesses that are service driven, of course they're having a hard time. Businesses that are a global scale business where things are still happening, even those businesses are having had to put up quite a bit of technology infrastructure that they probably were not counting on having to put up. I took a quick dive. I didn't go too deep, to be honest. In the dark web, I am a frequent visitor to look at trends. I want to see if, as a white hat researcher, if I can identify something that might be going on that I can take to a company privately or make more publicly known for awareness. And without giving details, because I can't give them because I don't know them, I saw a lot of commentary and anecdotal evidence that these hackers are using video game platforms, Xbox, PS3, and others, and they're playing video games, and they're getting into private chat rooms to be able to discuss what they're doing in real time. So, for example, you might have a group of hackers of however many in number working together on a campaign to compromise or do whatever they're trying to do. But instead of sending messages across the internet that might be intercepted, they are using these gaming platforms, and they have developed, a bit of a code. So while they're in there gaming, they might say something to the effect of, send a frag at the blue team, and that be code for, a denial of service attack or a DDoS attack or malware or anything else. When they say at the blue team, that could have been, anything, but to a casual listener who just doesn't think in the hacker world way, they might think that it's gaming talk. So I did read about some of that is truly happening. Now, whether or not that's part of ongoing hacking, whether or not that is part of planning for upcoming hacks, I don't know. But I would bet that in the next 14 to 30 days that we hear about a fairly substantial DDoS attack, if people are on the dark web using that as a platform to initiate certain conversations, and then they're able to further hide their conversations by using code, and then by only allowing invited people into a chat room, there's a lot. There's a lot here that could be a thing. Maybe it's not a thing, right? Who knows? I also want to talk a little bit about a lot of what I'm doing and many others. These from home-based TV shows. The Tonight Show and all these reporters on TV now broadcasting from home, and people like me doing what I'm doing. I'm normally on radio anyway, so whether I'm in a studio or at home almost doesn't matter for me either. But it's interesting now. We have access to people who normally would have such a hugely busy schedule that now are maybe furloughed, or they're just at home and they're getting kind of ranked rambunctious. They're trying to figure out how to interact with the rest of us. And I find that very exciting and interesting to have access to people now doing things like what I'm doing, and maybe being able to connect with them online in such a way that I may not have had access to them before, because I would have had to fly somewhere or buy some ticket or whatever. And I'm really excited about how this space, the IT security space, has really kind of come together, offered people some ideas on how to get around problems that are new to their environment, and they don't have time to, take a deep dive. They just need a resolution of an issue, and people are jumping in to help quickly. I've also, unfortunately, seen the dark side of this, the whole thing, where companies are, cutting staff or furloughing people, and they're having to sit at home and figure out what to do next, right? Do they start looking for another job? Do they wait till their original job comes back? Do they file for unemployment? Are they trying to do some consulting on their own remotely? There's a lot of options here, and it's interesting how people are jumping up and down and really working out their best to help others. And I'm really excited to see how this moves forward and how, in the end, IT changes. IT security, corporate mentalities. We're talking about companies, even such as the company I work for, who shall be nameless. They had a propensity for even IT people to have to be in the office. And we are a global company. So instead of working from home, unless you had a reason, maybe a doctor's appointment that day or some other thing, some one-off thing, you by and large are expected to be in the office, because if they can't see you, you're not working, right? So it's interesting that we had some interesting changes just in the last 30 days where people are talking about splitting workforces. Your team 1, your team 2, or A team, B team, whatever. And this week, team 1's in the office and team 2's at home. And next week you switch. And allowing people to have some work from home time. And what companies are also realizing is it's reducing other expenses, floor space. If people are sharing cubicles, you don't need that much floor space. You can cut almost in half. If you cut your floor space in half, you're cutting your utilities, your phones, your hardware. There's so many other things that aren't necessary anymore. And companies that were at one point just deciding, I can't do anything about it, I need to just have you here, are now realizing not so much. I think we can deal with you working from home. So I hope, and even for my own benefit and for others, that many more companies will take a look at this scenario once it's over. Get your workforce back to work and get people working, right? Make some money, let the dust settle later this year. It's going to be a long road, but a lot of good can come. And certainly business continuity plans, disaster recovery plans, off-site plans, all of these things are certainly now at the forefront of almost every business's mind. If you have never really took that part of IT seriously, you sure as hell are now, aren't you? It's a big deal. So I think, I know, I don't even think, I know things will change. Hopefully for the better. Who knows? I think for those who were probably looking to make a change, you probably were able to figure out what to do with yourself, very quickly and very effectively. So I'm excited for all of us. I do want to also circle back around to some of the not so great things that's happening with IT. People are realizing that they have people in their midst who are not as capable as what they say. Their resumes were a little bit ambitious, maybe. And for those people, I say it's not a good thing. I don't ever want to see somebody lose their job. I don't ever want to see someone struggle, their family struggle. But when it comes time, on a time like this, events like this, where the rubber truly meets the road, and I hate that phrase, but it's true. It's time. It is time. I am known as Dave the IT Guy. You can hear me on iHeartRadio nationwide, AM/FM radio. You can hear me here at BYOS Radio. Can't even say my own. You can hit me up at Twitter at BYOS Radio. And you can check me out at bringyourown.security.net. You can shoot me an email. Just Dave at bringyourown.security.net if you would like. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you've been going through. There are a lot of the usual attacks. A lot of new phishing campaigns going on, a lot of new malware going on. The biggest thing from a security perspective is teaching your users, taking the opportunity to make sure people remember how to read an email header, how to actually recognize a URL, how to understand what's going on, how to make sure that when they are at home, they are safe, secure. Who knows? It's going to be a long road. I also want to comment, though, about while your company might be furloughing people, while you might be cutting staff permanently, whatever infrastructure that you have, whatever infrastructure that is going on, being turned off, being whatever, now's the time, though, for better or for worse, to start jumping into some maintenance. Start getting some firmware upgrades going on. Start checking out your, if you have, especially networking gear, things that tend to fall by the wayside, routers, switches, access points on your Wi-Fi networks. Start checking those. Make sure that you have some good opportunities to update. Of course, Windows patching should already be going on anyway. And even taking the time to look at like your VMware or Hyper-V hosts and make sure that your hosting products are up to date as best they can be with firmware and or other operational patches. Take this time while you've got extended downtime or at least maybe thinner staff. Of course, we're talking about hospitals and other businesses are still, business as usual, so that isn't really applying to them. But for retailers, other organizations who are, not business critical, like a hospital or police, fire, you've got some opportunities probably to figure out what to do. Even city governments are furloughing people on a nationwide basis. And so then they're usually one of the harder ones to really keep up to date. So updating city government servers, devices, handheld devices, don't forget those. right now, because of COVID, of course, the hospitals are just getting crushed. I mean, absolutely getting crushed. But you know what else is an issue? Is that many medical devices are also susceptible to malware, especially if they're network connected. You've got IV pumps now that get downloads regarding the medicines and how fast to infuse something. You have data connected heart monitors and wireless things and Bluetooth things and all these other things that are in a healthcare environment that need to be monitored, that need to be, especially now, they're being overly used. Staff is getting stretched thin. Equipment doesn't have time to be down, especially critical things like IVs and respirators, of course, and other things like that. So pay attention, especially if you're in the healthcare sector. Scan your stuff. Take a look at stuff. Make sure that things are working. Make sure that firmware is in place. Because if you're not, I guarantee the bad actors of this world are. They're paying attention. And whatever they can see connected to the outside. And in some cases, these bad actors are sitting in your waiting room trying to crack your Wi-Fi to get on your network from the inside. Or they're jacking right into a public jack in some waiting area. And because you're so busy, you don't have time to look for the suspicious. All you have time to do is catch your breath for a minute and go to the next patient. So IT, it's up to you. It's up to us as a whole to help each other out and to do what we can to offer some advice and suggestions. I hope that I've offered at least something in this last 27 minutes that gives you cause to think. And if you have other weirdo ideas, stories, etc., man, I would be excited to hear them. I mean, I am just amazed at how this entire month of April for me has really made a change and really has gotten me reinvigorated. I've been in the IT field now 21 years. I've been a certified ethical hacker since 2009. I might have been doing a little hacking prior to that, and I've been a CISSP for a long time as well. So after a while, you kind of feel like, I know. Of course, we're always learning, but you get into your day-to-day rut of your job, and you're like, same old, and it's really invigorating for me to see a lot of these social media postings and events and things going on, information sharing, where you've even got me thinking, I didn't know that, or I forgot about that, or I knew how to fix that, but that's a different way that might be better than my way. So please keep sharing, please keep tuning in, stay in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you. Until the next time, I am Dave the IT Guy. This is Bring Your Own Security Radio. Stay healthy, stay secure, and come back next week.